Okay, this is the second part of the doors. If you go back on the measuring list, you'll see that we just did door, the frame, and now we're going to do the adjustments, the lintel and the threshold. Okay, let's do that. Let's look at the adjustments that we need to do. In terms of adjustments, we have a half brick wall. We also have finishes in terms of plaster and paint. So what we're going to do is that we're going to write the description here in terms of the finishes, or sorry, in terms of the one brick wall. I'm trying to check where that is. Okay, we've got it there on the wall thickness. We've got it there on the wall thickness. And we say in terms of the description, this is your adjustments. Let's make it bold. We say deduct half brick wall in stock bricks in stretcher bond with 1:5 cement mortar. Mr. 5 cement mortar. Just move that to the left. So we go to the opening in terms of the door itself, and we already know what the measurements are. And the horizontal measurement, as usual, it is 0.81, and then by 2.03. And we have a total of 4 number of doors that we're dealing with here in terms of the openings. And then we're done with that, and we just underline. So we then come now to the plaster as well as the painting. And the general finishes here, once again on the spec, are very clear that on the wall finish, we have a 50mm internal plaster with 1 coat and a filler coat and 2 coats of interior quality PVA. So we need to follow that. We come on the description and we say deduct once again your 15mm internal cement plaster. The ratio is 1:5 cement mortar to walls with smooth trowel finish. And then we measure that with paint and we say and deduct. Move that to the middle as usual. And we say deduct. That is your prep and paint. 1 coat. I read that for you already, filler coat. And we have 2 coats of internal quality PVA paint on smooth plastered walls. That's your plaster and paint that you must deduct. And when it comes to the dimensions, we have 0.81 by 2.03. It's happening there. Okay, let me just put it there. I might just deduct these. Don't know where these come from. Okay. Okay, I need to delete those as well. And when it comes to the verticals, on this regard, you must just remember that we have a total of 4 floors, floor walls, and then also the left and the right side of the vertical of your wall. Then I'm going to put that minus there once again so that this thing doesn't keep on moving. And then the reference there, once again, it is D1, D3, D5, and D9. Even here, the reference is D1, D3, D5, and D9. All right, that's your plaster as well as your paint. So those are your adjustments. On the adjustments, we just dealt with your half brick wall, your plaster and paint. But now if you go back on the specification, you will see that we also talk of your Miranda skirting that we need to look at, that we need to deduct, and also deduct the paint. Okay, we've got a skirting that we must deduct and also the paint that goes with the skirting. We have a 69 by 90 millimeter Miranda skirting with 19 quadrant bead planted on and finished with 3 coats of polyethylene varnish. So we need to make sure that we take that into consideration. So let's do that. Let's go in the description and see how it's done. And then we say deduct your 19 by 69 millimeter Miranda skirting with a 19 millimeter quad that is plugged to wall. And deduct. We need to deduct the varnishing that goes with the Miranda skirting. Deduct the prep and paint. 3 coats of clear polyurethane skirting, not exceeding 300 millimeter wide. So let's do the side cast. When we do the side cast, we go back to the plan again. We see the width in terms of the horizontal, it is 813. And we will see on the plan that there's 813. On that 813, we need to add 32 on the left-hand side and 32 on the right-hand side, 32 millimeter thickness then. Say 813, and then on that one, we add 2 times 32. Which will give us 64. And then once you add 813 and 64, you get 877, which will now be the new linear meters in terms of painting that skirting. Make that one bold once again. Then we come to the dim paper, and then we need to record that 877 now becomes 0.88, which you know that is measured in linear meters. We also underline that. And then we say by 4, the number of doors, and then the number of sides, the left and the right, which is 2. I'm going to put that minus once again so that this thing doesn't move. And then the reference once again on this one, it will be T1, T3, T5, and T9. And T9. So that will be the reference for that. And then we move on. I see my daughter is trying to call me. We move on, we look at the lintel. When it comes to this one, we have, if you go back on the spec once again, we're not really measuring the lintel, but we're measuring what is above the lintel, which is, if you look at the door, the top of the door, we have about, there's a note here that says 75-millimeter wide brick force for 5 courses above the door opening. That's what we're going to deal with. We are dealing with a 75-millimeter wide brick force that must be part of the brickwork. We open and close 75-millimeter wide brick force. Reinforcement in lintels. Okay. And remember, the note says we must have brick force for every 5 courses above the door. So what we're going to do here, we're going to have to work it out here. And let's look at the width in terms of the brick force. The width in terms of the horizontal on that door opening, it is 813. And then if we look at the brick force, we look at the lintel itself. Let me look at this. Yes, on the lintel, where we put the lintel on top of the door, of the door frame, we have an overhang on both sides of 230. So on that 813, we say add 2 times 230, which will give us 416. We add the 460 with 830, that will give you 1,273. So now we know how much in terms of linear meterage we're going to require that 75-millimeter thick brick force. So this is also measured in linear meters. We have 1.27 multiplied by the number of doors and then by the number of rows that are required. So we have a total of 4 doors, and then the number of rows that are needed where you need the brick force, it is 5. Let me correct that. we said you've got 4 number of doors by 5 rows of brick force. I'm going to put that minus so this thing doesn't move again. Then that 1.27, I'm going to underline it. And then we come to the threshold. Remember, I said on the plan that when we talk about a threshold, we are talking about the bottom part of the door or the door frame. So that is what we are dealing with here. If we go back on the plan, where the specification is, it is very clear that we need, as part of the threshold or the finishing on threshold, we need a 2 millimeter thick Mali semi-flex vinyl tiles, 300 by 300 millimeter laid on the on laid with adhesive, to a 28 millimeter screed. All right, so we've got three things here that we need to look at. We've got the semi-flex tiles that we need to look at. We've got the screed. And then we need to apply a polish on top of the tiles so that the vinyl tiles can give that high gloss finish. So we've got those three things here. So let's go back. I need to start this on a new page because I'm running out of space here. And then we have a threshold there. So I said you've got 3 items. 1, it is the vinyl tiles. 2, your screeding. 3, your polish in terms of the vinyl tiles. So we say 2 millimeter thick Mali semi-flexible tiles. Vinyl tiles and the size is 300 by 300 millimeter with adhesive cement. On screed. That is the first description. I need to make sure that everything is the same. Okay, and then we say end. This is where now we're going to deal with the screeding. We know underneath that we have a 28 millimeter thick your cement mortar screed with a 1:4 ratio on surface bed. And lastly, we need to make sure that those vinyl tiles get a polish. So we say prep and polish with 3 coats of liquid polish on vinyl tiles. So on this regard, we're going to take the 110, which is your half brick wall. and then by your half brick wall, that is your height, and then you by 0.81, which is 830, 0.81. Need to correct that. This part, only this part needs to be underlined. And then we've got a total number of doors, which is 4. And then the reference, once again, it is D1, 3, D5, and 9. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, that will bring us now to the end of doors. I think and hope that you guys have followed what I've been doing. If there are any questions, feel free to send those ones to me via the class rep, of course, because I'm not accepting anything from an individual student if it doesn't go via the party or your class representative. I don't know what his capacity is. But that's what we've done thus far. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if there are any questions, I'll be waiting to answer those questions. Thank you very much and goodbye.